My daughter is avoiding me after he found out why I left my ex. I, 30, had my daughter, 12, when I was 18. I was a stupid teenager, and I come from a very conservative country where my family is also very conservative. So, my parents disowned me. One of my uncles helped me during that time. When I was 20, I met Pete, 29 now, and we fell in love. We dated for 6 years, and he was very involved in my daughter's life too. It felt perfect. However, over time, I realized nobody in our society would accept us. If Pete and I ever got married, his parents would also disown him, and he might have to live a miserable life without ever contacting his family because of me and my daughter. So, I left him. He was moving back to his parents' house for a few months during the COVID lockdown, and I left without informing him. Looking back, it seems like the worst decision of my life, but at that time, I thought it was for the best. My life was pretty much miserable for some time after that, and my daughter didn't take it well either. She used to cry to meet Pete, but I managed to calm her down somehow. The last 2 years have been better for her. However, everything came crumbling down 3 weeks ago. I got home from work, and my daughter was all giddy and told me, "Look, Ma, I found Pete." She had found his profile on Instagram from my search results and messaged him. I didn't react at that moment. Later that night, he replied, saying he missed us too, asked how we were doing, and tried calling. I thought of blocking him but ended up picking up the call. When I heard his voice, I felt like crying. He told me I was the worst person he had ever met and that he couldn't trust anyone because of me. He wanted an explanation. I told him why I did it, and he just laughed and cut the call. After that day, he started calling every day, but only to talk to my daughter. He didn't tell her the truth, so a few days later, I did. Since that day, she has not been talking to me. It's been 2 weeks now. When I make breakfast before going to work, she stays in her room, and when I get back from work, she still remains in her room. Maybe I deserve all this. I destroyed everyone's life around me. Everything I touch turns into shit. Edit. I left out a few details because I thought people wouldn't believe me. When we first met, we were living in a rural area, and being a single mother without marriage is uncommon here. I never met someone like me in my entire life. When we started dating and hanging out together, I knew people used to call me names like "Witch who trapped the rich boy." We didn't live together, he was my neighbor. When we met, Pete used to work in his family business while in college, and his parents were very overprotective of him. He had to return and spend time at his parents' home every weekend. One of those weekends, some local lady came to my apartment and warned me to stop hanging out with him or we would have to move and stop this brothel of mine because that was a respectable society. When I told Pete, he talked to the landlords, but nothing changed, so we moved to a different apartment building together. I did talk about our future and what his parents' response would be if they found out, but he always used to say we would figure it out. I know I made a stupid decision, and the whole thing is on me, but at that time I thought I was thinking about his well-being. If he left his parents for me, he would have lost everything, his job and his career, in which he worked so hard. Looking back, it all seems like the worst decision of my life, but at that time I didn't want anyone to be burdened with me, like my uncle and aunt who helped me during pregnancy. The majority of my family doesn't talk to them to this day. It's not like I didn't miss Pete during the last 4 years. I still miss those days. I used to check his social media every day, and I thought he had moved on because he married someone last year. Maybe it was an arranged marriage, and they looked happy together. I was happy for him, but it tore my heart. I wish things had been different, but they're not. I know it's my fault, and I did apologize for my actions to him. I sent him a long text and voice note as he don't talk to me on calls.